What? Hello, you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 finale, which is one of my favorite Marvel finales to date. This is going to be a full spoiler conversation, so please have seen it first, because the end of this show, I think, beautifully does something that no other show has accomplished, while still being very true to everything we've gotten with Daredevil so far. It is the perfect finale, in my opinion, for exactly where Daredevil needs to be right now. So full spoilers. Let's talk about it in 3, 2, 1. Matt Murdock revealed he is Daredevil in court. This is a precedented thing in the comic books, but something I did not necessarily think we'd get to in Season 2 of Born Again. I thought maybe. It is something that I felt was percolating, but the way they did it was actually even smarter than I expected. Now, as soon as they had the Spider-Man stuff come out with him going to prison, I kind of put together it might be Daredevil, and then as soon as Matt Murdock was talking about, I said in one of my reviews, Charlie Cox talking about fighting both as someone that is showing that they can see, but also not in his suit, while also in the character being blind, I was like, man, that sounds a lot like Devil in Cell Block D. Now, in fairness, I said this because I thought it was going to be Iron Fist dressed as Daredevil, and therefore Matt Murdock could be plausible deniability to not be Daredevil. I didn't think it was going to happen because of the full reveal. Now, this show has a Brian Michael Bendis producer consulting credit on it. The Out storyline from 2002 is Brian Michael Bendis revealing Matt Murdock's identity for the sake of justice, which is here. So it was right there. It was waiting for us. But I love that this still gives us an ending that is so unique to the show, because this show has always, from the very beginning, been about how similar Matt and Wilson are. This show has continued down the path of their similarities, and there are obviously huge differences, but their love for New York. Then with Born Again Season 1, it was about the end of the Season 3 of the Netflix show kind of leaving them at odds. Like, there was no coming back to Daredevil, or it would all start again. There was no coming back to Kingpin. He had to just be Wilson Fisk. And obviously Born Again Season 1 was more and more them building back into their true selves, their alternate selves. This season had to find a way to elevate that without it just being another season of like Matt and Wilson fight. And so at the end of Season 1, they are fully formed back into Daredevil and Kingpin respectively. This season uses all of the vigilante things set up in Season 1 with Heather and those concepts and ties it into them becoming one. At the end of the season, once Matt Murdock reveals he's Daredevil, it is the meshing of these two worlds. It is taking off the mask. It is embracing the mask. It is becoming one thing, but it's also, that isn't a merging in a non-violent way. It's literally changing everything in both of their lives. Likewise, Wilson Fisk is no longer Wilson Fisk at the end of the season. He is fully one thing as Kingpin, murdering civilians in the hallways. And this all takes place in a court of law. This all takes place within Matt Murdock's system. This is a system he believes in. So his unveiling himself, him using the system, he has victory in that way. But there are still dead people because of Kingpin. There are still things and consequences. But that moment of acceptance, of realizing the only way this is ever going to end, because he's not willing to kill, is to have the Kingpin extradited and having his citizenship revoked. He's not only out of New York, he's out of the country. He has no power. He is trapped on an island. And I love that last shot of the island looking up at this white wall, white sandy beach, white suit, but how much that looked like Rabbit in a Snowstorm, and how much that image is now something that haunts him. It's something he's trapped by. He is trapped in freedom without Vanessa, without the city of New York, whereas Matt is in New York trapped, but has freedom in his own way because he has won for the first time as Daredevil and Matt Murdock. So each of these men has a very, very strong ending that is so diametrically opposed that is still about that love of New York. And one loses it in all the ways while seemingly in freedom in this beautiful bliss, and the other has found a freedom but is literally trapped in a prison. I think we finally got Cole North more like he is in the comic books. Obviously, in the comic books, he's a guy that doesn't believe in Daredevil at first and finds his way and realizes that Daredevil's in the right, not by way of murder. So Cole North obviously has a little bit more skeletons in his closet here, but it's cool to see that character more fleshed out there. We also got lots of setup for Jessica Jones, and at the very end, Luke Cage. I'm so glad that the reveal of Matt Murdock saying he's Daredevil wasn't leaked. As much of a bummer as it was that we got the leak that we were going to get Finn Jones and Mike Coulter and obviously Christian Ritter in Season 3, it was nice to have the surprise of Mike Coulter in the finale. I'm glad they didn't put his name in the opening credits, so we got that little beat at the end and then the alias door closing, giving us hope for maybe more Jessica Jones, but definitely giving us that feeling of them two back together again. Also interesting to see that he's been a hero for hire. Who knows if it's been good work or bad work, but that switcheroo with Mr. Charles and Bullseye is very interesting. We have the potential for more Bullseye stuff. Love the Bullseye stuff in this episode with the action and the fake Bullseye, and that beautiful lock frame choreography with the knives and all those things were lovely, and that was just such a fun little last beat for Bullseye, obviously, before we get on the plane. I also really appreciate that we've got the symbol of Matt Murdock being something that was appropriated much like Punisher's was, but it's something that is for good, but not the right way. Matt is all about law, and so for people to be using his symbol to start a revolution is one thing, because that's, taking the city back. But as soon as the moment happened when they're trying to beat Kingpin to death and all of his symbol, it was really interesting to see how torn, he couldn't let them do that. It wasn't torn, but how that symbol being taken from him and making these devils was something he had to himself stop. And that similarly, Punisher, I assume, is going to be taking out corrupt agents. Now, it seems like the AVTF has been disbanded, but the season 1 where the symbol was appropriated and Punisher taking them out, love the symbolism use, and I love the unmasking here. We have BB unmasking and getting work now officially at a newspaper and getting promoted for her good deeds. We have Kingpin unmasking and showing himself as, obviously, Kingpin instead of Wilson Fisk, and Daredevil quite literally unmasking and ending up in prison. So a lot of themes of vigilantehood and unmasking and all those things perfectly landing in the finale, which I love that the show's themes allow for Devil in Cell Block D, but within the show, what better culmination of all of this than Daredevil in not one, but 2 hallway fights. We've got a Daredevil hallway and a Kingpin hallway. Kingpin fully embracing his Kingpin and murdering merciless through this room of justice and law, and then Matt being someone that is trying to defend the city with someone. He's not alone. Kingpin alone, Matt with Jessica Jones fighting down their hallway, and then coming out and then uniting all of New York, or not all of New York, but the visual for New York in this courtroom, and the cops against cops, like the broken cops against the ones on the side trying to take back the city. All of that really worked for me. Loved the use of law with the Attorney General. Loved that we're going to, have a different mayor, which we've seen teased in the Spider-Man Brand New Day footage, furthering my belief that we're going to have Spider-Man convincing Matt to break out of prison, because that is a place that he belongs according to the law that he so believes in. And I really love that Karen survived, did not expect that, but also that there was just enough time for them to go back to that restaurant and have that beautiful lighting, and for them to have a moment of normalcy for even a few moments as Matt and Karen, and how he did everything to save her. And I really enjoyed the White Tiger coming back for a minute. I think her sprinkled throughout the season really worked. I think she's done a good job as a legacy character. Who did I forget? Buck within an episode getting shot and laying on the ground looking up at someone is exactly what Daniel said was going to happen. That karma comes off real quick. We've got the Heather Glenn character becoming and fully embracing her Muse hood. We've seen it teased throughout the season. Now she's fully embraced being Muse. We see, her proclivity towards violence beating up on Karen, but also the neck punch and all those things. But her embracing, I think, the madness of finding out that the man that she was in love with while writing her vigilante book, the man that saved her from Muse, was in fact Matt. And that, I think, finally pushed her over the edge. And in the comic books, there is an artist who is inspired by Muse that takes on the mantle after Muse is killed, very seemingly like this. So a lot of comic stuff getting to make its way into this canon in a very organic way. A lot of great setup for season 3 to be, a very different show. I think a lot of people have been upset that it's been Daredevil versus Kingpin for 5 seasons. Now it's a very different dynamic for the first time, and the only way that could have happened is with this. Now I'm just curious if we go from Bendis revealing he's Daredevil into the Mark Waid stuff of the I'm not Daredevil sweatshirt and all that dynamic. So really excited for season 3. Excited it is only a year away. Really love this finale. It was brutal. It was emotional. It was thematically resonant. It did so many things I love about Daredevil. It was action-packed. I was on the edge of my seat through the courtroom stuff. I think it's some of my favorite courtroom stuff. It's definitely my favorite courtroom stuff in Born Again, but I think it's some of my favorite courtroom stuff from all of Daredevil, all 5 seasons, just waiting for him to say it, knowing it's coming, and how he's going to utilize it, how he's going to manipulate it, and then the fight all happening there. It's just so much redemption for the lack of courtroom stuff now getting to be such a key piece, and just beautiful to see him wield law and Daredevil hood. So now there is no way any season can feel like season 3 of Born Again, because Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and that changes everything, and I'm so excited to see all of this come together. What a finale. I really loved it. Would love to know what you think in the comments below. This was a 10-minute, just me pouring my heart out of excitement. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video. The Daredevil Season 2 of Born Again is over, but The Boys is still coming out, so subscribe, like, etc. Check out my boys' reactions, and lots of movies are coming. And next week, Daredevil might be over, but Punisher One Last Kill will be at the same time and same channel for a review there. So stay tuned for Punisher and The Boys and a summer with Spider-Man in it and lots of other movie coverage. So please subscribe and comment, and hell yeah, Born Again. What a finale. All right, I appreciate y'all. Bye.